Now I have to ask you a question. I came from private school, so I came to Cardozo. I was frightened out of my mind. I thought something was going to happen to me. Here I am. I see this white male amongst all these, minorities teaching. I mean, no fear and just the respect level. Um, how does somebody gain that respect, especially for people who don't look like you, may not be where you're from? Like, how are you able to move people and get people to respect you?
That's an interesting question. Since my father was in the Navy, my mother was really the person that raised the children. I had two sisters and a brother. My sister passed the same year that my wife passed, as a matter of fact. Uh, and my mother was a church woman, and she was very involved in what was then called the Congregational Church, is now the United Church of Christ, and that's how she lived her life. That what everybody was the same. You treated everybody the same way, and because I was when I was my ninth grade year in junior high, which was 1959, they closed the schools in Norfolk rather than integrate the schools.
Mm.
So my first semester in the ninth grade, uh, all of the white students in Norfolk uh, went to school in like church basements and places like that, and the black students in Norfolk went to their schools. That's how stupid the whole system was.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know about that part. I knew that we went, but I didn't know. I thought that everybody in Norfolk went to school in church basements because that's what we did. And then I really learned a lot about that from one of our former principals, Dr. James Williams, who was principal from 1981 to 85, who went to Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk, which was the black high school in Norfolk. There were three white high schools: Granby, Norview, and Maury. And we graduated from high school the same year. And he was a baseball player too. But everything was when I in my in my when I was in junior high, everything was segregated in Norfolk, except for the world's largest naval base, the Norfolk Naval Base, which was integrated. And since we were a Navy family, we we always went to the grocery store at the commissary on base, and we went to the movies on base, and we went to the gyms on base, which were integrated. So my my whole time as a integrated white person in Norfolk, uh, or a segregated white person in Norfolk, but we always spent time in the integrated places in Norfolk. It was like an island in Norfolk Naval Base, and because you spent 4 years in Norfolk.
Yes.
The Norfolk Naval Base is huge, and it's got everything you need to survive as a human being. You don't have to really go off the base. We'd go on the base to do this stuff, and so I just wasn't raised to in our house to have any kind of just to treat everybody the same. But I think that maybe the bottom line might have been that I was an athlete. So
Mm.
that when I was at Garnet Patterson for 7 years, um, I was coaching. And once you get on the feet on the floor or on the field, and you're playing sports, you can't really hide that you can't play or you can't do this and that. And I was a pretty good athlete, so um, maybe I got. I mean, but then I went to Cardozo, but the year before I went to Cardozo, I was coaching the. I was assistant coach on the girls basketball team at Cardozo. So my girls that played for me at Garnet Patterson went to Cardozo, and the girls on the team that I was coaching at Cardozo knew who I was before I got to Cardozo. But like you said, there weren't. There were a couple of what I would consider. Well, they're not as old as I am now, but they were really old. There weren't any white male teachers at Cardozo when I got there, but there were a handful of female white teachers when I got there. But they were all a lot older than I was. So, but I started coaching I started coaching I was assistant coach on the football team in the fall of 1977 when I got there, and I also was the assistant basketball coach of the boys team, and assistant basketball coach for the girls team, and the head baseball coach, all in that first year. So that may have had something to do with it. But as you know, it's not hard to be a disciplinarian.
Right.
Well, you're just supposed to do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And even though I'm easy to get along with, it wasn't easy to make the A that you made. You earned it.
That's
I'm
true.
talking about you,
Right. That is
because
so true.
Catherine was one of my best students ever,
Oh, thanks.
because she
So,
was a hard worker and
yeah.
extremely bright. And that's a really good mix.
I want to ask you,